There's this old guy in my town named George, and as you can see, I don't live in town by the looks of the background, but the town is Vilcabamba, Ecuador. Anyway, George told me a story that I want to share with you, and that is, well, first I'll start with his work experience. He was in the Marines, and he was in the Special Forces in the Marines. Later, he worked for a United States Embassy. I can't recall which country, but it was in the Middle East. And after that, he was like the main go-between in the peace negotiations between Israel and Egypt. That was at the end of the Israel-Egypt war. So he got sick of all that bullshit and decided just to leave everything and go. He had heard of this master who lived high up in the Himalayas. I can't remember if it's Nepal or Tibet, but it was really remote. So he went as far as he could on the road, and then he had to walk for about a month, because back in those days there weren't too many roads going into the wilderness. So he kept walking and asking about the location of this master, and finally he found the village that the master lived in. So he went there. That was after about a month, and he asked the villagers where to find the master, and they were afraid to tell him, because a little while before that a American had gone and visited the guru and offered him $2 million to come to New York and teach seminars. Well, the master beat him so badly with his walking cane that the villagers had to carry the guy down the mountain on a stretcher for a week to get to the nearest hospital. So they were a little bit worried about telling George where the master was, but they did tell him. He talked him into it. And George ended up living with the master for 8 years in a freezing cave next to the master's cave. And he experienced gradual enlightenment. So I just want to share that story because that's what I consider to be a real teacher. You know, a lot of teachers these days teach big seminars for big money, and a lot of them are amateurs. In fact, seminars are a waste of time. My teacher told me they're a waste of time. For the same amount of money, you could study with a real teacher for years and get some real education. Anyway, keep that in mind. That master is my kind of teacher, and I strive to be like him, although I don't live in such a remote area.